What is going on, guys? Season 11 just finished. We had the Legends tournament literally wrap up about an hour ago, and Comtos has given us the balance patch details for the next upcoming balance patch for the beginning of Season 12. So, just thought I'd release a video here. We're going to go through and review this balance patch as much detail as possible. We're going to talk about what sort of impacts this is going to have to some of the units, and if any units are now worthwhile building more than ever. So let's just get straight into it, guys. The first unit on the list is the Dark Anubis. Deadly Wrath, his third skill has an increased damage effect by 5%. They've actually added an extra effect which gives him a shield equivalent to 20% of the inflicted damage on himself for 2 turns. And if an ally gets defeated, the cooltime of Deadly Wrath is reset. This is actually pretty insane. So if you guys don't know, the Dark Anubis is a HP scaling damage dealer. He does an AoE attack, which is Deadly Wrath, and now he gets a shield, and if he kills the unit, he can actually do Deadly Wrath again next turn. That is actually insane. So how would I use him? He could actually work out pretty good in like Tiana, Galleon, Zyros, 3rd unit cleave. And I would probably keep him on a rage set and go like HP, crit damage, HP, and see how he goes that way. Because if you do get Zyros to reset units and his 3rd skill doesn't kill anything, or it kills 1 unit but doesn't kill everything, he can actually follow up and do the 3rd skill again to wipe out everything. So it's actually pretty powerful. I think he's going to be a lot better this way. The fact that he gets to reuse the 3rd skill over and over is going to make him a heck of a lot of fun to play with. Alright, next units on the list is the Archangels. Wow, okay. Fire and Dark Punishment. Cooldown reduction on the 2nd skill. That's really good for them. I think that's needed. The 4-turn cooldown was pretty big. Now it goes down to 3, which is actually really exciting to see. The Dark Archangel also gets another buff. Good, because he's probably the Archangel that's really lackluster at the moment. Increased the amount of damage that's proportionate to the number of dead allies by approximately 40%. So for each dead ally, if you guys weren't aware, he actually gets an increased damage stack. And I believe he also takes reduced damage as well. But what they're doing is now he actually gets more damage by 40%, approximately 40% for each teammate that he loses. That's going to be pretty nice to have for him. Dark Monkey King, Dark Monkey Wand, I believe that's his 2nd skill. The attack power increases as your HP decreases. So 2nd skill is more beneficial. Looks like they're changing it away for that. So it's not saying, it's no longer attack power increasing for HP decreasing. It's now steals 1 beneficial effect. That's kind of lackluster. I think the Dark Monkey needed a rework on his 3rd skill. Him stealing a beneficial effect on a 2nd skill, to me, isn't good enough. I think they need to revisit how they want to buff the Dark Monkey King. He still seems lackluster based on that. Beast Monk, the Light Beast Monk, Crushing Blow. So, if you guys don't know, the Beast Monks with their 1st skill have a 1-turn effect, usually. Like a harmful effect. And now it looks like the Beast Monk, the Light Beast Monk, gets a 2-turn armor break on skill 1. That is pretty powerful. I think a 2-turn armor break will make him a lot more useful. Now, is that good enough? Let's see. There is another change to his 3rd skill. Chance of landing glancing hit is increased, so he does a glancing hit debuff, and he also now does a provoke for 1 turn. I think this is pretty good for him. The fact that he also can get the defense break for 2 turns, I think having glancing hit and a provoke available for 1 turn is actually pretty good for him. I would probably be running this guy Violent Revenge and going like speed HP or HP crit damage HP. I don't know if damage is actually needed that much on him, but probably like speed HP most likely, or triple HP. Water Druid, passive change. Beautiful. One of my units. Activates a passive effect when another ally's HP drops below 30% from an attack, and ally target excluding himself. Based on the wording, looks like the only change is that now it includes himself. So if his HP drops below 30%, he gets his passive works straight away. So which means he gets full attack bar, and then you can do any skill that you need. He does have a heal, a pretty big heal, which is pretty good for him. I think this change might make him a little bit more usable. I thought he was already usable, but this change now means that he can probably cycle into his heal a bit more often. So, looking forward to that change. Chiwu change. Okay, here we go. So, before Chiwu would strip all units and it would reduce attack bar based on the amount of beneficial effects removed off the enemy. Now it says it strips all enemies and decreases attack bar by 15%. So, no matter what, doesn't matter if they have debuffs or not, it pushes attack bar by 15%. So, it's like a speed lead. It's a speed lead stripper, similar to Trident, but not as much of a pushback, I believe. I think Trident has a higher pushback. I'll have to double check that later on. Additionally, decreases each enemy's attack bar by 15% per beneficial effect removed. So it does a pushback if they don't have beneficial effects. I wonder how it works out if they do have beneficial effects, and if it applies, I believe it'll apply the 15% pushback based on no beneficial effects first. Like the basic removes, like pushes the back attack bar by 15% first. And then additionally, if it does strip, it goes for more. So if a unit has will, it'll only push back 15% if it does strip. If they don't have will, it'll push back 15. If it has like shield will, it'll be 30% pushback. If a Woosa moves first, it can push back up to like 45% if they got like, you know, a shield set in there as well. I think that's a pretty good change for him. Now at least he's more useful, and he does have pushbacks to be able to compete with the other strippers. Now, that 24% attack lead, speed lead is also very, very handy for people that do not have a speed lead and a stripper that was useful before. So Chiwu with 24 lead is probably now a lot more useful, having this attack bar pushback. I think we might see him a bit more in the meta. Not quite Trident-esque when you have people running Vanessa Trident or Samarth Trident, but still pretty good for those that have a Chiwu that were kind of, you know, left behind. So I think we'll probably see him a little bit more. Hell Lady. Raki got a change. Okay. So effect that it inflicts damage which ignores all effects that resist death. So anything that resists death now can go through anything like that. So I believe it means it can kill units that get like a passive. So like Garo, I think it ignores Garo's passive save. I think it also stops, like even Trassar I believe has a passive save. I believe it'll also stop units like Theomars from getting his his passive up as well. And I think it also, I wonder if it goes through, I mean, well, obviously, like, the revive, like, the Nigong third skill, revive, would not have an effect either, because obviously Soul Crusher is the third skill, which means it doesn't allow units to get revived. So, it means now it can go through units that have a passive, resist death, activated on them. I wonder that probably means it can also go through Endure buff. So, it just means, it makes her a bit more usable against units that, like, it pretty much makes it more of a Theo killer. So it's pretty cool. Okay, Brandia. So I want to know, Brandia is probably one of those units that, with all these 2As coming out, like Crow and the Wind Martial Cat, she's kind of been left behind. So hopefully this change here makes her usable. Let's see. So it says, inflicted damage increased by 30% for each harmful effect on the enemy. That's what it used to be. Now it's harmful effect or beneficial effect. So I don't know if I like that. So if a unit gets absolutely stacked up with debuffs, so let's say if they got defense break, attack break, and then Woosa protects it, it does more damage. I'm not really a fan of that. I think she needed a complete rework. I would have liked to have seen her simply just get an AoE on the third skill as well to make her a bit more usable. With the same effect, just go 30% for each harmful effect, but it does AoE. I don't know if I really like this, but I guess we'll see, and we'll see how it goes. Because I mean, you can still deal fat damage with her. Now when they get beneficial effects. So we'll see if it has that much of a big scaling effect. Jemaya buff. Okay, so they buffed Jemaya's second skill, Thunder Break. After attacking the enemy, randomly attacks 2 other enemies with 20% of the damage. Now what it does is it attacks all enemies with 20% of the damage. So no more random attack. It is now 1 extra hit on each other enemy for 20% of the damage initially dealt. So consider it like baby pung bake damage. So if you did 10,000 on one target, it'll do 2,000 on everything else. So something to consider. Okay, Katarina is the next one on the list. Attacks randomly. Now it attacks the enemy target to inflict damage and then randomly attacks 2 enemies after. So Sword of Discharge used to do 3 attacks randomly. Doesn't matter which unit you clicked on, it will not target that unit first. Now what it's saying is it'll target a unit first. That is actually huge because now you can actually target defenses that have Triana on it and kill Triana first and then kill other units around it. I think that's a pretty big change. It means you can also snipe off a unit that you really want to straight off the bat. Like, for example, if I brought it into a team where I really wanted it to deal with the water and wind unit, and there was a fire unit that I had brought in, let's say, Kali or Covenant to take care of, I can actually focus on the wind or water unit first and take them out and let Kali deal with what's left. So that makes it pretty good. I think reducing her RNG will make it a bit easier to take out units straight off the bat. That's going to be a pretty big change. I think that'll impact Guild War meta quite a lot. And I think that'll also impact some people that actually run her in RTA. Alright, so the next unit on the list, guys, is Cannon Girl Wind. Okay, so Christina. effect change. Resets whenever your turn ends. Now it resets after you attack on your turn. So what that's telling me is that her passive used to run out when she was under inability effects. So she was stunned or frozen. Her passive build-up would disappear as her turn ended. Now she has to actually attack on her turn for her passive to disappear. I think that makes a little bit of a change, but I don't think it's enough for her. I think the issue is also with a little bit with her scaling. I don't know if that's going to make too much of a change. I think it might be a bit more usable now, because I think wasting her entire passive when she was under inability effects made her kind of useless. So if she can now use that the next turn, if she's under inability effects and then attacks the next turn, it'll probably be a lot better for her. So let's see how that plays out. Leo, Eye of the Storm, so the passive. Decrease the enemy's attack bar by 15% instead of 10%. So a minor change. I think it was already good enough. I think that's just nice to have. Alright, so Samurai changes. Okay, there's quite a lot here. So, Wield is their first skill. Higher chance to get Sword of Supreme Skywolf. I'm going to refer that to SSSW. So, from 10 to 20%. And it increases if you crit. So, instead of being only 20, it goes to 30%. Okay. Then I'm assuming all the slashes are the second skills. And now Sword of Supreme, so SSSW becomes 30% chance. And if it crits, it also goes up to 50%. So, 20% additional. And before, the attack speed increase used to be if it landed as a crit. Now, if you no longer land as a crit, you still get the attack speed increase. For air slash, for double slash, for the fire and dark, you still get continuous damage, even if you don't crit. Charging is, what is it? Oh, charging slash is, for the water one is, okay, so charging slash is actually the third skill for the water. And fire, wind, light, dark. So all these slashes here, and thunder wield for the wind, are the third skill. So it's saying it's got a 70% chance to activate SSSW, but now 30% increase. So it's guaranteed SSSW if you crit with your third skill with any of these samurais now. Flame Slash has an additional effect. It decreases defense for 2 turns. AoE defense break for Fire Samurai. That is actually pretty nice because you can go into third skill into Sword of Supreme Skywolf now. Which is a pretty big change. Light one also has a change. If the target has dark attribute, critical hit is guaranteed and it deals 30% more damage now instead. So before it used to be if they were dark attribute, it would be a guaranteed critical hit. Now it's just 30% more damage. Dark Slash is now, if the unit was light attribute, critical hit now guaranteed, it just deals 30% more damage. So overall, just more damage. Samurais, their Sword of Supreme Skywolf got changed as well. Increases the amount of shield. It is now proportionate to the level of the monster. So hopefully it's worthwhile. I don't know how much of a big change that is to the size of the shield, but it'd be interesting to see. I think this will mean that the samurais can be used a lot more in Nat 4 siege offenses. And even as a follow-up damage dealer in arena offense cleaves as well. Because I think the fire one looks pretty good now. Backup AoE armor break, if you were to use him with the Galleon team. And I think he also helps with the current meta that we're seeing in Siege, where you're seeing like Skogels and you're seeing Trianas and you're seeing even like twins. You're seeing like the Shiner Martina stuff going on as well. You could probably use him there. I think it'll be pretty solid of a unit to use. All right, so Neostone Agent. So we see Trevor get a buff. So Trevor now gets a buff. The skill cooldown of attack... Oh, sorry. Neostone Agent. Lisa. Okay. Attack command. So when you use attack command, her cooldown actually goes down. So what they're saying is her cooldown for attack command will go down by an additional... Or it goes down by 1 because she actually attacks with them. So how does that make her a bit more usable? It means like right now in R5, Konamiya has a lower cooldown than Lisa does. But with this, I believe it puts them at the same level, meaning Lisa can now be used more again more in Pleb R5. I call it Pleb R5, your basic R5. So I think Lisa can become a bit more usable there. But now I'm really excited for the Light Neostone Agent, because this is one that I 6'd out a while ago, and I haven't really seen a use for her because her cooldowns were 1 too high, and the actual third skill was kind of doo-doo. So it says now the cooldowns are down from 8 to 7. Okay, that's a start. Before it used to protect allies. It used to make one unit invincible for 2 turns, and all other allies used to get endure buff for 1 turn. Now she gets a 2-turn immunity to all her team, and it gives 1 unit 2-turn invincibility. And it gives the rest of your team a shield. So you get shield, immunity, and it also gives invincibility to one teammate for 2 turns. I think she's going to be really, really nice. I might actually have to rune her up and see how it goes from there. She looks pretty solid. Shield size based on the proportionate to her level. So, again, not too sure what the scaling is on those. I'll have to go back and have a look. But she seems a lot more usable than she used to be. So, immunity, shield, and invincibility on one target ally. Oh no, sorry, I read that wrong. So target ally gets invincibility and everyone else gets a shield. So it's going to be immunity, shield on 3 units, and immunity, invincibility on the unit that you targeted. Okay. Still pretty good. Still pretty solid. I think that's definitely usable, for sure. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I think I'll still be able to use her now. So Neostone Fighter, the Water, Wind, and Light Sharp Strike, their second skill. Instantly gains another turn if the enemy has 30% or less after HP after the attack. Now it's less than 50% after the attack. So a lot of the times if they set up with an armor break and you get them below 30%, you could follow up and finish off a unit. Now, if it's below 50, you can still probably finish off a unit by going second skill into first. Alright, they go Trevor's passive. There we go. Neostone Fighter, Trevor's passive. The damage you receive will decrease by 20% additionally if you're under harmful effects. So before he already reduced damage, and he used to have higher attack the more HP he lost. But now he'll receive less damage by 20% if he's under also harmful effects. So if he gets armor broken, the amount of damage he takes is less. So the Wind Neostone Fighter push through now reduces attack bar by 50%. The Light Neostone Fighter used to get a shield based on his damage. Increase the damage of proportionate to his shield by approximately 42%. So he does more damage. When he has the shield, and then when he creates a shield that's equivalent to 50% of his damage was the old passive. Now he creates a shield based on the amount of damage he actually deals. I think that's pretty solid. So instead of only having 50% shield, now it's like 100%. So I think that's going to be a pretty solid unit as well. They're making Neostone Fighters. They're buffing a lot of 4-star units. I really like seeing this. Piercing Dagger. Oh, Carl got the short end of the stick. Piercing Dagger, damage increase is only 9%. So Piercing Dagger, I believe, is his 3rd skill. It can go through any damage reduction effects. So similar like to your Likers, or your Chows, or your Jaeger, it can actually go through invincibility. You can still deal damage through all that. So yeah. So Rakshasa strikes again with a 25% chance. So I think they're just trying to give her a bit more love. Is that groundbreaking? Not really. But nice to see that she's getting a bit of a buff. She is falling out of R5. Largely due to Lauren. Lauren gets more attack by control. I don't think this is enough for Hua. I think we'll see some more buffs to Hua in the future. Sylphids! Oh my god. This is a blast from the past. So it looks like Wind, Fire... Okay, Wind, Dark, Fire, and Wind... Okay, so they didn't touch the water. They didn't touch Lumeretia or the light. They're pretty good anyway. Lumeretia is pretty powerful as a solo unit, but I don't think she's that good as for an entire team. But let's see. So what they do to the Wind. Twister. So second skill. The heal is up from 20% to 25%. And the damage is proportionate to max HP. That's an added effect. So I want to know what the scaling's like. If it's high enough, it's going to be good. Dark Sylphid. Okay, so Icarus gets the same thing. 25% HP heal. And more damage based on max HP. So that's pretty nice. Fire Sylphid. Fire Tornado increases attack bar by 25%. And damage based on max HP. So it gives attack bar and damage based on max HP. That could be pretty nice, considering what it does with the passive, which is decrease the enemy's attack bar from 10% now to 15%. But it also heals the entire team up to 100% and cleanses, by the way. So it's pretty powerful. Wind Sylphid Force Field decreases cooldown by 1 turn, so from 5 turns to 4. So I think this is going to make it a bit more annoying to deal with in TOA hard. I don't know if I'm expecting to see it a bit more. It's crit rate reduction and a shield that she gives. So 4 turns. I think those buffs are only 2 turns. It could be 3 turns. If they're 3 turns, it'd be pretty nice. It means you only have 1 turn where it doesn't overlap. But no immunity means it's kind of... We'll see how it goes. Gargoyle buff. So this is pretty big because like gargoyles came out and I haven't seen them used anywhere. Let's see what they've done. So all gargoyles have an increased damage by 11% and an increased defense by 20 to 30%. So instead of stacking only up to 100% defense, they can now stack up to 150% defense. Now all their damage is dealt based on their defense. So higher scaling with defense, more damage output in general. Fire and Dark, Destructive Claws increases their damage by 35%. So they're trying to make them deal more damage. Water, Wind, Light, their Earth Strike increases their damage by 24%. So I don't know how that plays out. I've never really seen them in work yet, but let's see if they're, if we start seeing some more after this buff. Fire Gargoyle also got a passive change. Before it used to be full HP, you'll turn into a statue until next turn. Now, it's if your HP is higher, 70% or higher, you'll turn into a statue. Pretty good. It means before you'd be poked, and he wouldn't be able to turn into passive. So, he wouldn't be able to turn into a statue because the passive wouldn't apply anymore. So that's pretty nice. Threat effect. So they changed an effect. So the next section's all about like modifications to certain things. So the first thing that we're talking about is an effect modification. So they're changing threat effect. Before it says the enemy can only attack the target under the threat state when using the attack skill. Now it says the enemy can only attack when using the attack skill. That part hasn't changed. They added in the target under the threat state will be inflicted with 15% less damage when attacked. That's pretty nice because a lot of the times you'll just snipe units that have the threat state. If they didn't have immunity. The only threat state unit I believe right now is Ophelia. I think they could have done a little bit more with threat state because it could still be stripped obviously. But I think what they could have done is I think the damage reduction could have been a little bit higher. But let's see how much of that plays out. It's a good starting point. Let's see how much of an impact it actually has on units like Ophelia. Awakening effects of some monsters will be modified. Not surprised that it's the samurais. The light samurai used to awaken into resist. It sounds like Grogan. But now it gets an attack speed increase. Imagine they did that for Grogan. And Dark Samurai awakened into accuracy. Now he awakens into crit rate. So it makes it easier to ruin them for crit rate or for the speed that they're missing. So pretty decent changes. I think that makes a lot more sense considering the type of units they are. Skill errors of some monsters will be resolved. So what was their issue with the Light Panda? So there used to be issues about the Light Panda not actually removing beneficial effects, and then they fixed that. Dark Inferno sometimes didn't actually fix the issue of damage being dealt by the HP that's not destroyed in a situation of HP destruction. Okay, I don't know. I think that's talking about destroy. It's not destroying the HP that should have destroyed. Light Lich, sometimes it didn't get the invincibility effect. So it used to mean people used to kill it, maybe multi-hit targets, and you never used to put the invincibility up in time between the amount of skills hit. So it could have been like maybe, let's say, Stella. Stella's got a very fast animation. She does 7 hits if runed properly. Maybe it was killing out the Halfus before he could actually get his invincibility to take effect. So maybe they fixed that. Wind Succubus, sometimes the sleep activation wasn't being applied properly. And Beast Riders, abnormal HP if they were imprisoned. Okay, I don't know about that one. This is now a big section here. Okay, what's this? Passive effects of some monsters won't be activated when the attack lands as glancing hit. That's pretty big. So let's see what sort of effects. So these are talking about passives. I would have liked to have seen some monsters on this list be like Hathor. I believe she can still sleep in it even if she glances. I could be wrong about that one though. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I don't know Hathor, so I'm not sure. Okay, so first unit is the Dark Vampire Cadiz. If you don't land the crit, if you land the glance, you can no longer, land the branding. Jultan, you can't actually armor break if you land this glancing. I think all of these will be glancing based. Yep, 2A Jultan, you can't armor break or continuous damage if it's glancing. Yeah, so it's all to do with glancing. If you land the glancing, that's what the title said. If you land as a glancing, your passive will not apply, or the harmful effect will not apply. Or the inability effect will not apply. Now, passive effects of some monsters will be activated even when the attack lands as a glancing hit. The Dryads, so even if you land as a glancing, it means you can still get the beneficial effect duration decreasing for 1 turn. It can still land that. So you can start like stripping beneficial effects or reducing the effects of the beneficial effects by 1 turn, even if you land in a glancing, which means you can use a fire one to hit the water unit. If it glances, it can still reduce the effect. For Dark, it's mainly going to be if you're under a glancing, a crit rate reduction buff or a glancing debuff on it. Okay, so pretty straightforward changes. Nothing too exciting there to read. Skill descriptions, some monsters have been improved. Inflicts damage, additional damage that's proportionate to your max HP when attacking. Counter attacks with a 50% chance when attacked. Okay, so they're just rewording, making it easier to read. So, based on this balance patch, I think the timing is great. A lot of these units are 4 stars. which means they're probably trying to see if we're going to play with these a lot more in Special League. Timing is also great considering it is FRR. I like the changes to the Light Beast Monk. Now, I think that'll make him a bit more usable. I like the changes to the Dark Anubis especially. That seems like a pretty big change to him, making him a lot more potent in cleave teams. And then the Archangel changes are pretty nice to see as well. Chiwu was also a pretty big one. I think they kind of missed it a little bit with the Dark Monkey. They missed it a little bit with the Brandia. I like the Valkyrie change, the Katarina change. The Cannon Girl one would be interesting to see how much of an impact. And there was a few others which was just kind of like, we'll see what happens. So, very interested to see how this actually plays out, guys. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this content in the future. If you have any feedback you want to give me, guys, or if there's something that you want to have a chat about or debate about in this balance patch, please leave it in the comment section below. I do read my comments. But yeah, guys, that's going to do us for this video. Thank you again for tuning in. I will see you all next time, guys. Take care and good night.